This particular journey started by bus, lots and lots of bus. I think what, 3-4 buses to get to Mexico City. The bus ride from Rio Dulce, from Frontera to Guatemala City was nice because we had to get night, so it was pretty short. I was supposed to get the whole way to California by bus, but unfortunately that wasn't possible. The Mexican authorities stopped me from traveling further after Mexico City. I would probably say that the most interesting thing about taking the bus is being stopped again and again and again and again by authorities who shake down migrants and other people on the bus. For some reason, they think that between one checkpoint and another, that someone loads shit on the bus or migrants get on the bus. I don't know. We got stopped countless times for no reason at all and shook down by every possible authority in Mexico. They didn't shake us down in Guatemala, but they did shake us down in Mexico again and again. They boarded, they checked everybody's paper. Because of the checks, we were delayed by 5 hours. Well, I arrived in Mexico City at the bus station, and I was just going to get on the next bus. But none of the 5 or 6 bus companies that do that section from Mexico City up to basically to the border would allow me as a foreigner to get on, because they all passed through Sinaloa and they were basically at war with the cartel, and they were blaming the cartel. They were saying that the government doesn't have a problem, but the cartel are kidnapping migrants and people on the bus going north. So they're getting on the buses and they're moving people off buses. So the government didn't want to deal with a foreigner in one of those buses, so they wouldn't allow me to take the bus, but then they would allow me to fly. I literally bought a ticket to the most dangerous city on the planet, the city that had officially the highest homicide rate on the planet. It's a no-go zone. So yeah, they worried about me traveling by bus, but then they let me fly to literally the most dangerous city on the planet. Yeah, I went up north. I stopped a couple of days in Guaymas to see Rage, my friend's boat. The boat we had delivered. I went to do a checkup on his boat. Then I tried to get a flight to Tijuana because also the bus from there was also sketchy. But then the airlines company screwed me again. The same airline company that has done that numerous times did it again. They cancel your ticket as you show up for the check-in. They send you confirmation. They tell you your flight's number. What they do is they overbook the flight and then they kick out the 6 cheapest tickets off the flight. I thought it was just a coincidence, but then 6 other people on the same flight said they had the same thing happen. And then we all got kicked out of the airport when we started basically rioting because I caused a commotion and we were all escorted out of the airport. And the company hasn't reimbursed me for the taxi to the airport, for the hotel, for the extra bus fare, like all the shit I had to go through. I mean, I would never suggest that anyone fly with Volaris in Mexico. They're just the worst. And this is just the beginning of airlines companies screwing me on this trip. So it's been a challenge. And I think that's why we still choose to travel by boat, because buses and airplanes are not fun. I mean, buses are long and airplane companies just screw you over. They sell your ticket, they overbook flights. I love overbooking flights. And then they just boot off people that the cheapest tickets on the flights. After I survived all the cartels and the police and the corrupt officials in Mexico, I had to pay them money to enter the US because they did not like the fact that I didn't have my physical visa at the border, because I left it actually for safety. I left my visa. Said worst case scenario, if I get robbed on the bus, I lose my passport, but I don't lose my passport and my US visa. So then I was shook down at the border. Yes, every time I've entered the US, they take my passport, they go beep, and they say, welcome to the United States, and hand me back my passport. They really, really wanted a physical visa. I showed them a picture of it. My actual physical visa, the actual sticker on my passport is on my old passport, on my expired passport. And I traveled with my new passport. But they really wanted me to have the physical old visa. And I'm like, who travels with an old expired passport? And one thing led to another, and they ended up making me pay a huge fine. They said either I pay a fine or I don't enter the US. And yeah, it was just a pain in the ass. It was 2 a.m. I had to find a way to pay them $700 at 2 o'clock in the morning. And after it was all said and done, they had the gall to not stamp my passport. So then I had to walk back into the office and tell them, where's my fucking stamp? And they were like, oh, we live in a digital age. We don't stamp passport anymore. And I'm like, no. We don't live in a digital age. You made me pay $700 because you want a physical stamp. Now I want the stamp. I think I've deserved it for $700. and the lady grumbled and moaned and cussed that she had to get up from her counter and go in the back of the office and go through to the cupboards, and then she had to call for a supervisor to unlock the vault, the office vault, to get out the stamp, to stamp my passport. And they were grumbling and they were not happy that I made them do the extra work of basically stamping my passport. But I said, for $700, I think I deserve a stamp. So that was my pre-Trump border crossing. 7-8 day trip from hell. I finally managed to get into the US and then got a Uber from the border crossing to the train station. When I arrived at the train station was closed and it was Thanksgiving night, so the streets of San Diego were empty at 3 in the morning. And this very intoxicated, I don't know if it was drugs or alcohol, but someone was very intoxicated at the station and he was screaming and shouting, and then finally he just collapsed in front of the door. And as the guy came to open the door to the train station, basically kind of tried to kick the guy out of the way, and I had to tell the guy, look man, this guy needs help. So finally the guy at the train station called an ambulance. I had to turn him over. He was kind of choking on his own vomit. So that was my introduction to the US. And I arrived at the boat, and the boat was nice and big and super luxurious. So I was excited about doing a trip. Going to deliver this giant sucker. You're going to Hawaii. Hey Danielle, say hi to my brother from all the way over there. We spent the first few days prepping the boat, mostly buying lots and lots of very nice organic food and fishing gear. And my wife wants to say that if she had showed up to the boat, she was not sure she would have made the trip. Maybe if you're a woman, you show up on a stranger's boat and you feel uncomfortable about doing a trip for 30 days on a stranger's boat. But in the end, it turned out to be nice. More and more people showed up, and we ended up being a crew of 8 on the boat. We were 8 of us to cross. So it will end up being a lot of fun and safe and great, and we all got along. And you guys eat all the fish? It's so cute, the little Pacific white-sided. Doing the numbers. We had fairly decent weather on the trip. The trip is kind of feel it was a little rushed. Like I think the owner was really in a rush to leave. We were supposed to stay, 3 days in the Channel Islands, and I bought a very expensive fishing license to be able to fish there. We stayed one night in the Channel Islands, and then we left for no reason at all. But anyway, we left and started our Pacific crossing of 18 days. We ate really, really well. The fishing was good. We caught lots and lots of fish on the way. Well, that was my purpose on the boat, and I think I smashed it. We caught lots and lots of fish on this trip. So, and we ate really well. I would say pretty much the worst thing that happened in the trip was that we blew the code 0, and that was a little sad because it was more and more useful as a trip went on. Like the wind was getting lower and lower and lower as we arrived, and basically we had to motor the last 3 days into Hawaii. The bear will sleep. No, it wasn't the wind that blew it. Actually, it was the lack of wind that blew it, because as the wind got low, the sails started flapping, and I think the flap of the code 0 ended up bursting it. And the sail was 5-6 years old, and it was a Kevlar plastic polymer sail. It's amazing it lasted that long. We had a party last night, a full moon halfway party. So after losing a monster wahoo yesterday who took my lure. About 1,000 miles, 1,100 miles from Hawaii, and it's been a downwind run all along, so that's been good. Yeah, looking forward to see the mountain of Hawaii poke up from the sea, and the days come and go, and we're in tune with the weather and the sea. And the fish. More fish. And there it is. Tuna at the back. Doubly doubly. We technically had 4, but 2 got off, so. Skippy Jackie. And the boat's not too bloody. We managed to keep it under control. Box of bits. Middle of the Pacific Ocean. Not much wind, but we have this huge swell. I don't know if it shows. Nice big swell. Got 350 miles left. Hawaii's that way. In 3 days, we should get there on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. So we finally managed to land a little wahoo. Not a monster, but wahoo nonetheless. We saw lots of very nice birds and wildlife. We kept having different types of birds landing on the boat. I would say about 80 miles out, 60 miles out, 80 miles. You could actually see Hawaii about 80 miles out, the volcano. Fish drying up front. Wing on wing. Approach to Hawaii. Danny, say hi to Justine. Woo! To Justine, she's gonna be happy. The night that we were approaching Hawaii, the volcano erupted. Right there. And then we arrived in Hilo, and Hilo was pretty much, I would say, the best anchorage we saw in Hawaii, because it has a huge breakwater, and the holding is good, and it's shallow, and nobody bothered us there. I can't see. This is a little harbor in Hawaii, very, very nice. Ancient harbor of Hawaii. Look at a beautiful traditional. We got our paperwork done, and then which we already knew, that Hawaii is probably the most cruiser unfriendly place on the planet right now. They have a bunch of rules. You cannot anchor in almost anywhere for more than 72 hours. And those are the few places you're allowed to. You're not allowed to come back for 14 days to the same anchorage. And then as soon as I left the boat, my friend kept sailing around the islands. He said he was literally kicked out of anchorages 3 or 4 times by people coming out in canoes being like, "We don't like your kind around here, like leave." Oh, he's getting them, huh? He's carrying all the fish towards here. The other one is carrying it on top, and he's picking them off. But then, once you think about it, Hawaii has a history, and people who arrived on ships have have screwed the people for generations. So I guess they're a little on edge about people approaching with sailboats. But then I don't even know if it's the locals or the Hawaiian government, or they really don't like cruisers there. And the marinas are few and far apart. Like, we literally pulled a cleat off a boat in one of the marinas because it was a shitty marina. They gave us a shittier spot, and there was a huge surge coming in the marina, and the cleat literally pulled off the catamaran. So yeah, we didn't have a very nice time once we arrived in Hawaii on the boat. I would say it's pretty cruiser unfriendly.
Out at Lynn's, and I was like,
look at that, look at that.
I was like, have you seen a set yet? Look at that one.
Oh my God.
Oh! And I spent a couple of weeks with my good old friend, and I got to see him and his family and his kids, and it was great, very welcoming. And he just bought a fishing boat. Well, his dad bought a fishing boat, so we got to go out fishing in Hawaii. I basically had a 3-week fishing holiday. Maui was very interesting. You go up the road and you're in in mountain, it's green and tropical and cool, you're not hot. And you go down to the isthmus and it's hot and dry. And then you go to the other side and, I got to see Lahaina. Unfortunately, people there are still having a rough time. The most annoying part I would say about Hawaii is that it is very difficult to get from island to island without flying. You have to fly to get anywhere from island to island. There's almost no boat service or very few businesses that move people from one island to the other. Like I had to get from Hawaii to Maui, literally the island next door. The direct flight was booked, so I had to go from Hawaii to Honolulu, from Honolulu back to Maui. Like I flew for hours to do like a couple of miles. Like my friend would have come and picked me up by boat, but he was busy working that day, and the fuel bill would have been more than the plane ticket. So I tried as hard as I could to find a way not to fly back. But unfortunately, cruise liners and freight companies make it extremely complicated and almost impossible. It was impossible for me to get on basically. They have cruise ships that come and go to Hawaii from the U.S. mainland on daily basis. Like every single day there's boats arriving. But then it's like almost impossible to get on a ship. And I was like, I could just get on a cruise liner and go back on a cruise liner, on a relocation or nothing. But no, they don't pick up passengers in Hawaii. They just do the tour and you get dropped off back in San Diego or San Francisco or Vancouver, wherever they pick up people. I basically took the last flight. I'm pretty sure my plane was the last one that took off Hawaii the day I left. I left during a huge storm. I arrived in Los Angeles, got on my next flight, and arrived in Florida to meet my friends who I was supposed to help them come here to Guatemala. Luckily enough, I had actually a boat trip back from Florida to Rio Dulce. JetBlue screwed me. Again, airline companies. They somehow managed to destroy 2 of my fishing rods inside my indestructible fishing rod case. So basically, I have a fishing rod tube with lots and lots of holes in it so you can see what's inside. You can put a probe camera, but they popped the lid off, pulled everything out, and then couldn't get things neatly back inside, so they just shoved my rods in and destroyed my fishing rods. And JetBlue just refused to pay for any damages. They said, probably the TSA that did it. The TSA said, we don't care. JetBlue and the TSA can destroy your property. And be like, nope. They said, maybe if you have the receipts of your fishing rods, we could pay you back. I mean, who the hell keeps the receipts of years ago of fishing gear? Nobody was willing to take responsibility for damage. Well, that was my experience with the airlines this trip, is that I'm sick and tired of flying. I had a super easy, relaxing trip down with my friends, down to Rio Dulce. The boat was in really good condition. We got to sail a boat with a brand new mast, which was really nice. And the fishing was phenomenal. And we quickly made our way down the Florida coastline. We went to Marathon, bought our supplies. Then we went to Dry Tortugas, which was really nice because me and Justine had skipped that last time we were in Florida. Got to see the fort and its history. The US has become extremely non-welcoming, and even as a European with a visa, I still feel literally in danger of flying into the US right now. Like, because of, I don't know, my political views. Like, one no longer feels safe flying into the US being a non-US citizen. It's like, all I'm going to say is I'm lucky I didn't go to the US before January 10th or whenever. I mean, I was lucky enough that I went in pre-inauguration. Even if you have a visa or ESTA, it doesn't matter. It's completely is determined by the political view of the CBP officer that lets you in. Now they take your phone, they open your Facebook, you talk shit about Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Netanyahu, choose your demon, and if you talk shit about them, it's literally grounds for them to have you deported. And if you're lucky, they deport you right there and then. If you're unlucky, you end up in the camps where they're torturing and killing people for no reason at all, including European citizens. So now it doesn't make me want to go back to the US. For whether to see my friends, whether to go deliver a boat to or from the US, like, no, I'm not going back into the States. It's not fun. I don't feel like ending up in a concentration camp. Yeah, and then you come to a so-called third world country like Guatemala, and it's welcoming and friendly, and people are kind, and the rules are simple, and if you obey the rules, and people are kind and friendly, and no one gives a damn about your political opinion.
Robbie came in the dark with the crew of Meanwhile. They came in through all the crab traps in the dark without proper charts for up the river here. And they made it. I'm really happy they're here. As I requested, with some fish to be battered and fried.